Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to go over cycle 1, week 7, what I did in my class for the Abecedarians. We'll cover new grammar, fine arts, hands-on science, and review, but I'll mainly focus on new grammar. So the first thing we did was geography. I color in the maps ahead of time. I just outline around the areas in different colors, and then I give the kids each a Q-tip. I say the name of the place and the color that it is. They point to it on the map. Once I see that they say the name. Once I see that they have identified it, then they can use their Q-tip to erase it, and they say the name as they're erasing it. And today I brought in some little Lego people. I had received these from somebody who tutored that age group the previous year. So I had them put their people on the map and walk them around to the different areas. So I did Hispania in blue, Gaul in pink, Germania in yellow, Carthage, I put a purple star over it, and Alexandria I used a green heart. And I did it in that order so we could go Hispania, Gaul, Germania, straight down to Carthage, and then over to Alexandria. And I found these maps on CC Connected. I'll put a link, or I'll put the name of the user in the description so you can find them. These have been really helpful for me to use and review. I just started using it this week. I had been looking up each week. I had been looking up online where the different parts for the empires were, but I think I'm just going to rely on this. It's a lot easier, and then I can use this during review too when we review our geography. So that's what we did for geography. Then we did timeline. I let the kids pick one snack that they eat during this time. So for timeline, they're sitting at their tables eating their snacks. I go around and show them the timeline cards, and we say the name of what's on the card. They repeat it after me, and they all get a look at the picture. And sometimes I'll talk about the picture a little bit. Like on this one, I said, who do you think Jesus is in this picture? And they all said the baby. And if I know something off the top of my head about one of the cards, I'll talk about it a little bit. But usually I don't do that. But since today was a lot of early church history, I was able to speak to that a little bit more. So then as I go through each one, I showed them Jesus the Messiah. I set this one up on the board, and then I went through the next one, showed them, set it up on the board. I set it up in order. Then I play the song on my phone, and I use a pointer to point to each one during the song. And then we have 5 kids in the class, so they each take a turn coming up and pointing. And today, even one of the littler kids, she was 3, she got in on the action, and she pointed to them all correctly, so that was really encouraging and fun to see, that even the little kids are picking up on this stuff. Then we did science. So I used a song for that. Let's see, first I used these handouts. I got these coloring sheets from Etsy. I got a whole cycle 1 pack. It's amysniderDESIGN. I'll put that in the description as well. So I put one of these on each table so the kids could share and have a visual to talk about each different way animals reproduced. So this one down here is live birth. I said, you know, there's a person, a cat, a kangaroo, and then they even named some like dogs. And so I told them this is the hand motion we'll do for live birth, like you're rocking a baby. And then eggs, on here was a chicken and a snake and a turtle. And so we did like this for eggs, for a chicken laying an egg, and some of them wanted to be sea turtles, but they still did this to be sea turtles. And then fragmentation, we have the image of the sea star here fragmenting, and we talked about how the leg turns into a whole nother sea star when it breaks off. And we did this for fragmentation. And budding, this was the image we had here for budding. And I talked about coral and how it's a animal that kind of looks like a plant, and a little bud will grow and then separate. And so we did this for budding. And then we sang through the song. And the song was kind of fast for us to do the hand motions, so I slowed it down. I played it on my phone first. I got it from CC Connected. It's to the tune of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And then we sang it without the recording because we needed to slow it down to do the hand motions better. What are some ways animals reproduce? Live birth, eggs, fragmentation, and budding. And then I kind of called out kids in the audience and asked them to tell me, what's this one mean? And what's this one for? And then I asked some of them to show, I asked one to show me what motion we did for fragmentation and what motion we did for budding. So they had fun with that, kind of being called out. They're getting more comfortable with each other, so I'm putting them on the spot a little bit more now this week. I started to do that, and I think they're liking it. Okay, so then we did math. We went over it on the board. I pointed and we said the numbers on the 13 multiplication table. But then I also wrote the numbers really big across the bottom of the board, and I did each number in alternating colors so they could stand out more. And so I pointed to those numbers as we said them. I said it, they repeated after me. And then we listened to the song, and I had a child come up and point as we went through the song. I did that twice, and then I had them hop around while we listened to the song through once more. And then the next thing we did was Latin. This week I did go over how we pronounce it at first. So I said we're saying is like hiss, like a snake hisses. So they did that, and then E like knee, and I pointed to my knee. M like ember, which is my daughter's name, she's in the class. And then like yuck. And then for the plurals, we did ace, like the letter A, ace, like vacuum, ibis, like you're driving a bus, and then ace and ibis again. So we said it first, and then we played the song through a few times, and I gave them finger puppets today because the hand motions were just getting to be too much for the class. We'd been doing hand motions the previous weeks. So they use this little monster finger puppet for the singular, and they use the eyes for the plural. I kind of thought plural like two eyes. So as we sang the singular, we did this, and as we sang the plural, we did that. These, right now, they have them at Dollar Tree in the Halloween section. And these I got from that mom who had tutored last year. She gave those to me. So it was really nice to have that variety. Then we did history. So I explained to them a little bit about some of the terms. I'm not sure how much they understood. They all were kind of looking at me with blank stares, but that doesn't mean that they weren't getting the information. So for Hinduism, we did this, and I told them in Hinduism, their gods a lot of times are represented with many arms. So we did this for Hinduism. Karma, we did this, and I talked about how in Hinduism they believe what you do, if you do something good, then you'll get good things. If you do something bad, you'll get bad things. Super simple version. And then reincarnation, we did this, like you're going down into the ground and then coming back to life and then going back down in the ground. And then caste system, we did this for the caste system, and I just explained how karma is related to how you come, they believe how you come back in future lives, and I reiterated that that's not what we believe, and the moms reiterated that's not what we believe. And then Buddhism, oh, I meant to show you, I use the timeline cards. So when at first I talked about Hinduism, I showed them this, and we talked about how the statue had many arms. And then for Buddhism, I used this timeline card and pointed to the little Buddha here. And we talked about how Buddha often is represented with a big belly. So for Buddhism, we did this for Buddhism, for belly. Self-denial, we did that, like, I'm not going to eat that cake. I'm going to deny myself that cake. And the path to enlightenment. So self-denial, path, enlightenment. So I'll do it one more time. Hinduism, karma, reincarnation, caste system, Buddhism, self-denial, path, enlightenment. And then for English, we did the prepositions, and each time we do it, I try to go over the definition of preposition. So we'll say that, and then for in, we did this, in, inside, we took a step forward like we were walking inside a room, then into, like, and near, like we're bringing something near to us. That was it for the new grammar. Now for fine arts. Today was the first day we did our tin whistles. We had a whole separate room for it. I asked the moms to hold on to the tin whistles until I told them to give the whistles to the kids so they wouldn't be distracted. So we started off all by singing Twinkle Twinkle as a class. But I told them they needed to watch me because I was going to use my hands to count them in and tell them to start singing, and then when it was time to finish singing, I would do this. And that's in preparation for using the tin whistle. So I said, 1, 2, ready, sing. And then we all started singing Twinkle Twinkle. And as we were singing it, I kind of moved my hand a little bit to the beat. And then at the end, as we finished up the song, I did this. Then we went over the parts of the tin whistle. I had my tin whistle up front. I sang the song from a YouTube video I watched, which I will link in the description. And it's to the tune of Do You Know the Muffin Man? Do you know the tin whistle, the tin whistle, the tin whistle? Do you know the tin whistle? These are its parts. Barrel, fipple, mouthpiece, finger holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, left hand on top. Sorry, before I sang that, I did go over the parts of the tin whistle and showed them and said, this is the barrel, this is the fipple, this hole right here is the fipple, this black part on top is the mouthpiece, these holes here are the finger holes, and then I showed them their left hand, they all had to raise their left hand, and we talked about how that goes on top. I have the Abecedarians, they're 4 and 5-year-olds, one just turned 4, so even just talking about left hand is like a new concept, but we did great. We had a good time. So then I sang through that song again 2 more times, and I had them sing with me. And so then I demonstrated the finger position. So I showed them how I had little marks on my fingers from the holes of where I had them pressed down. And we talked about the pads of our fingers going over the holes, not the tips of our fingers going into the holes. And then I showed them how you hold the whistle at an angle like this. You don't hold it down like this, you don't hold it up like this, you hold it at an angle like this. And then we practiced following the conductor. So I went over with them when I put my hands like this, that means you can bring the whistle to your mouth, but you don't play it until I count you in and say 1, 2, ready, play. And then when I do this, we finish playing and we return the tin whistles to our laps. So we went over that a few times. I did the motions and said, what does that mean? We reviewed that. So then the kids got their tin whistles. I had them all point to the different parts on their tin whistles and name them. Then we practiced the 45-degree angle, but they still couldn't put it in their mouth because they all wanted to blow on it. So we practiced the 45-degree angle, and then we did cacophony, which is they could play whatever they wanted. I did tell them all to put their fingers on the holes when they did cacophony, but they did whatever they wanted. And I was doing this like we were just having fun with it. And then after that, we talked about the difference between what it sounded like when we played cacophony and when we sang Twinkle Twinkle. And then we played in unison. So the way that we played in unison was I did have them cover all the holes. I did this so they could raise it up, you know, put their fingers on the holes. And then I said 1, 2, ready, play. And I was doing this with my hand so that they could breathe out each time I did this. So we talked about that ahead of time. So we would go. We practiced our breaths that way. So we played in unison like that. We finished off, and then we did that one more time. I counted them in. We played in unison. We ended, and that was it. So the next thing we did was hands-on science. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I just wanted to share that I used these printables from Professor Latimer here on YouTube. I will link her video. She has these linked in the description of her video. She has 2 different versions of this handout, and it was really helpful for the Abecedarians because they can't write. So we did our walk. I had them practice standing in a line. We walked in a line around the playground area. We listened for different mammals. We looked for insects and animals. And then we went inside after about 15 minutes to do our handout. I also had to talk to the kids about how scientists observe things outside, and scientists are different than warriors. They don't need to protect people from animals. They just observe animals because some of the kids were wanting to smush the bugs. So that was a good talking point. In the future, I might talk about that ahead of time before we go outside. So I wrote up on the board the date and the location so the kids could copy it down on their papers, or their parents could help write it. The temperature, I just looked on my phone for what the temperature was outside, and we found it on here, and they colored it in. What is the weather like? It was cloudy. Some of them didn't know how to draw clouds, so I drew a few different examples of clouds up on the board. And then I drew out the clock and showed them how to put the minute and hour hand on there. Then animals I saw, insects I saw, things I collected, and map of my nature walk. So I did draw an example of the map of the nature walk up on the board, but I let them do I let them do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to copy what was on the board, but some of the kids really wanted an example. So yeah, this was really useful, especially for that age group. And for review, I asked the kids if they wanted to do coloring or Play-Doh. They wanted to do coloring, so I used some more of those amysniderDESIGN coloring sheets. I have mostly the science ones. I just have them all printed out and on hand so the kids could pick what they wanted to color in. So they colored while we sang through some of the songs. Today I challenged them a little bit to see if anyone could recite any of the memory work, and surprisingly they could, so we're going to do that more often, I think. I still just played through all the math songs, and yeah. For the timeline song, I have the kids sit in a circle. We have this little squishy strawberry we named Buttercup, and they just pass her around in the circle as we listen to the timeline song. And that works out really well. But today they were squeezing her and getting a little silly. It does get kind of crazy, so I have to like tell them, let's listen to the song, and you can't hold on to it, you have to pass it around. But that worked out well. And then we did geography. I only reviewed the Hebrew and Hittite empires. It was really nice to have this on hand for that, for reference, because I don't remember all the places. So I gotta look on here for my cheat sheet for the Hebrew and Hittite empire. For the Hebrew empire, the kids got one M&M, they had to move it around to the different spots, and then they got to eat it. And then they got another M&M for the Hittite empire. And after that, we did the preposition song. We did follow the leader. So I started off as the leader because we hadn't done it before in class. We all lined up in a line, and as we were listening to the preposition song, the kids just had to follow the leader. And somewhere halfway through the song, I let one of the kids lead, and they had fun with that. And that was it. So I hope you find this helpful. Sorry if the video was a little extra long. I had a lot to go over today with the fine arts and the science. But I'd like to know if that's helpful for you, or if it would be more helpful to have things separated out. Yeah, just let me know, and I should be back next week for week 8. See you guys then.